Guys, the purpose of today's media event is to provide the public and the media information related to the officer-involved shooting that occurred Saturday, November 22nd. Today you'll hear from Mayor Frank Jackson, Cleveland Division of Police Chief Calvin Williams, Deputy Chief of Homeland Services Edward Tomba, and Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Tim McGinty. At the end of today's media update, we'll have a brief question and answer period. This time I'd like to bring up Chief Williams. I'm sorry, Mayor Jackson.
On my behalf, I want to extend my personal condolence to the Rice family for the loss of their child. You know, these times are always difficult for me because I know that there's nothing that I can say that will be adequate in terms of their pain and their suffering that they're going through now. Chief Williams and Chief Tomba and the county prosecutor will talk about the investigation, the process, procedures, but I want us to remember that a 12-year-old child lost their life, and that those of you who were here Saturday know that there was a 9-year-old who was shot, survived, not by police. There was a 17-year-old female who lost her life, not by police, and a 19-year-old. And I say that to you because I don't know anyone in this room who probably could not empathize or actually feel someone those ages that they care about, that they love. So I'm gonna turn this over to the chief so that he can give you the investigative side.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to start by saying I apologize for the lateness of this press conference. We extended an invitation to the Rice family for them and their representatives to view some of the video evidence in this case. We didn't want things leaking out or getting out later on without them having first seen it. The Rice family declined to view that at the time. Their representatives did have a chance to view it, and they will discuss what they saw with the family, and then the family at that time will decide whether or not they want to personally review some of that video evidence. So I'd just like to make people aware of that right now. This past Saturday, members of the Cleveland Division of Police were involved in a deadly force incident with a young juvenile at Fidel Recreation Center. On Sunday morning, in spite of the prayers from all of us, that young man passed away at Metro Health Medical Center at about 2:30 a.m. Moving forward, the officers involved in that situation are currently on administrative leave, which is per our protocols. During this time, the investigation will continue. We will continue to look at evidence, both video evidence and forensics evidence. We will continue to conduct interviews of people who may have been witnesses and who are witnesses to this event, both prior to, during, and after the event. We will continue to conduct regular updates on the status of those investigations. Our use of deadly force investigation team will complete their investigation fully once all those things are done. And at the conclusion of that investigation, all of the evidence will be turned over to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, at which time they will conduct their investigation and review. A tragedy like this affects our entire community. Our officers at times are required to make critical decisions in a split second. Unfortunately, this was one of those times. From this tragedy, we can gain knowledge, and we can proactively and diligently teach our children and our community about the dangers of weapons, mainly handguns, whether they be real or fake. Guns are not toys, And we need to teach our kids that. Our community needs to understand that. Guns are not toys. The facsimile weapon in this incident is indistinguishable from a real firearm. But we need to drive home to our kids especially that guns are not toys. Parents need to be aware of that. We must also make sure our children understand that we, members of the Cleveland Division of Police, are part of this community, and that we care about each and every other person in this community, and that we're out there to keep them safe and to protect them. We need parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters to make sure that they give that message to our children, that we're out there, we're part of this community. We have relatives that live in this community. I have nieces and nephews around the same age as this young man. And I'm sure, I know that my family would also be heartbroken. I'm asking the residents of this city to continue to pray for this family and to continue to pray for our city. Now I'll bring up Deputy Chief Edward Tomba, who will give some details of the investigation. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Saturday evening, the Division's Use of Deadly Force investigative team responded to the area of Cadell Rec Center in response to an officer-involved shooting. Our procedures are as follows. We have members of our homicide investigative team, our Internal Affairs Bureau, our Integrity Control Section, the Prosecutor's Office, and members of our Community Relations Board and the Office of Professional Standards. While on the scene, we obtain statements, we gather evidence, and we try to piece together exactly what took place. As the Chief mentioned before, we do have video evidence that is currently being reviewed. We have consulted with the municipal prosecutor as per our protocol. We will continue to work with the prosecutor's office. Since it was a fatal shooting, the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office will be involved. We will work with them, and our mandate is to complete the investigation within 90 days and have it in the hands of the prosecutor's office for further review. That is our process, that is our protocol. We are also in contact, and we're also working with the medical examiner's office to process that evidence. If anybody has any questions about the investigation or the process, I'll be glad to see if I can answer them. And then after that, I'm going to ask Mr. McGinty to come to the podium and explain what the prosecutor's office role will be.
Chief, will you release the video?
Right now, we just released it to, we showed it to the family's representatives. As of right now, we're not gonna, that hasn't been determined yet, and we're gonna definitely take our lead from the family.
Might that have a calming effect on the community?
Well, you know, we don't know. Obviously, our concern is the community, but our concern is that family. You know, we've got that family, and we've got a police officer also that's involved that is obviously very distraught over the situation. So we want to take their feelings into consideration first, and then we'll make that decision in consultation with the prosecutor's office. But we will make a decision on whether we're going to do that. We're just not going to do it today.
Chief, I understand that you need to, consult with the family, but it should be a matter of public record. So,
it's part of an investigation, is what it is. It's part of an ongoing investigation by the division and by the prosecutor's office. So, and I understand that, but like I said, our main concern is our community, our officer, and that family that's involved right now. So we will make that decision. By all means, I'm sure everybody in this room is going to make that request. But right now, that's the avenue we're going to take. Is we're going to consult with them first. We did show it to their representatives.
Chief, what does the tape show, and how does that add any detail to what we've already been told about
Right.
the young man and reaching or not reaching for that gun?
Well,
what does the tape show?
Yeah, I mean the tape is very clear on what took place. So, but there still needs to be, the tape needs to be enhanced. There needs to be other measurements taken. There needs to be some scientific review of that before we just release that, or before it goes out anywhere.
So the tape basically corroborates the officer's version of what happened?
Well, you know what, we haven't spoken to the officer. You know, we just conducted a short interview with him, but we have not taken a formal statement from that officer, which we will do eventually, and then we're gonna have to piece that together.
Have you?
As in any other shooting, any other use of force by the Division of Police, it's very, very complicated. But like I said, I can assure you that we're very sensitive to the three, our community, the Rice family, and our police officer. We have to be very sensitive to all three of them to decide what we're going to do with that.
Have you clearly established the distance between the officer and the boy when the shooting happened?
I don't think we've clearly established exactly what the distance was, but it was very close.
So again, can
Less
you
than
tell
10
us,
feet?
Yes.
what does the video show? What can you see?
I don't want to really get into exactly what it shows, only because, like I said before, as a, you know, we showed it to the representatives, and I just came from that meeting with the representatives, and I want to make sure that the family is notified properly.
So you can't say if
You have to, I understand the need for the information, but you have to understand that, you know, like I said, what took place is, it's unusual, and we do want to take our leads from the family with that. And we're in contact with them. Our community relations office at City Hall is engaged with them, along with our loss response team from Frontline Services. So we're going to let them be the conduit, and we're going to let them tell us exactly what they want to do. When we get to that point, we're going to consult with everybody here and make that decision.
Chief, can you make any comment? You've seen more evidence than anybody else out in the community. If the officer did anything wrong or not, can you make any determination at all, in your opinion?
No, you know, Scott, no, that's, like I said, that's part of our review. You know, as I said, we've got a 90-day mandate, then we have a prosecutorial review, and then after that's done, we have a, what we call an internal administrative and tactical review, and we're gonna have to review that. So that's a long way off before we determine if anything administratively or tactically was not done correctly. I'm gonna take one more, and then I'm gonna let Mr. McGinty speak.
The 911 operator was told that the possibility of a fake gun. Does that relate to the officer at the scene?
You know what? We don't know exactly what was relayed. I have not reviewed that. As was mentioned before, I did review a lot of the evidence along with the chief, but the actual dispatch from the dispatcher into that car, I have not personally reviewed yet. I actually have that on my list to do today, but I have not reviewed that.
What's
So
the
I can't
protocol
comment
for
on it.
interviewing the officer, time-wise? You said it hasn't happened yet. When will it happen, and what's normal in the situation?
There was a verbal interview, but what we do is we take a formal statement, and that officer is afforded every opportunity to have legal and union representation with him. So we have to coordinate that with his legal team and the members of his union, and then we will take a formal statement. That is our protocol. He was taken to the hospital and treated for a minor injury, and like I said, obviously, as you can imagine, as we all are, I mean, he's very distraught over what took place, and we do want to, you know, support him and give him his space, and then we will, you know, we'll continue on with the investigation. So
You're not naming him yet?
no, we're not. No, I'm
How was he injured?
gonna let Prosecutor McGinty talk to you about the process.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim McGinty, the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor. I would also like to join Mayor Jackson, Chief Williams, and Deputy Chief Tomba in expressing our condolences to the Rice family for this tragedy and their tragic loss. It is a very disturbing and emotional time for everybody working on the case, looking at the case, and we can only imagine the pain that the family is enduring right now. I agree with the police decision to respect the family's decision initially here regarding the film. The film will eventually come out, just a matter of time. It will eventually be in the public domain, no question. What I'm here for is basically to explain the process, to ensure public confidence, and this is our policy at the County Prosecutor's Office, in the integrity of the criminal justice system. I began a policy that the County Prosecutor's Office will present the facts of every fatal police shooting, other use of deadly force that results in death by law enforcement in Cuyahoga County to the grand jury for review. I began that early in 2013. We have reviewed 7 cases in this county and reached conclusions, 8 if we include a recent conclusion in Mansfield, Ohio, that I acted as special prosecutor. We are committed in these type of cases to conducting a thorough investigation that satisfies both the high standards of the office and the needs of the grand jury. All relevant facts that are gathered by the investigations of the investigating agencies, and they vary who they are, and by our own investigators or any other additional investigators we need to employ in these cases, are presented to the grand jury in its traditional investigative role. That is not so in all the counties of Ohio. We do it again for policy reasons. The reasons I've established that policy is that I think these cases are so serious, so important, that there should be a citizen review, not just a arbitrary private review by an elected county prosecutor, but the citizens themselves will have all the facts in these cases, in all these cases, when they're reviewed at the grand jury. If they're not satisfied with the police or BCI or Ohio Patrol or whoever investigated, and they want additional investigation, we will provide it. If they want additional experts, we provide them. And ultimately, they make the call on these cases. The decision to charge or not charge ultimately rests with the grand jury in these cases. But I want to be clear, the prosecutor's review is only a review to see if criminal charges are appropriate. We do not review tactical issues. If tactics were perfect or imperfect, or could be improved or improper. These are policy issues at that point, and they're public policy issues. Whether you go to one of these cases where they regard guns, and most of them regard guns with the individual, or drugs, or whatever the collateral issue is. Those are things that we're not discussing here today. Those are broad policy pictures for the public, for the political process, and for internal police review regarding tactics and the like. The rules we follow, and all prosecutors across the country, are basically spelled out by the Supreme Court of the United States. And police can use deadly force where the police have probable cause to believe that the suspect poses a threat or death, a threat of death rather, or serious bodily harm to the public or the police. And in determining whether each officer had probable cause to believe that the offender posed a threat of death or great bodily harm to the public or the police, the required perspective is that of the reasonable officer on the scene, standing in that officer's shoes, perceiving what he then perceived and acting within the limits of his knowledge or information as it then existed. This is the Supreme Court Graham versus Connor decision, which the Supreme Court recently reaffirmed earlier this year. So those are the rules to which we look. Legislatures don't normally design these rules. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. It applies to all 50 states and every community they're in. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take some limited questions, at which time we're going to conclude this. So if you have any questions for the mayor.
Given the climate of the moment here, and so many people keeping an eye on that grand jury decision in Ferguson, I mean, this has to be the exact kind of incident that I'm sure Chief Williams and his staff was fearful of, unrelated to the badly timed. I mean, could you offer some thoughts about that, and offer some thoughts, to the citizenry of Cleveland of how they are processing this?
Whether there was Ferguson out there or not, it doesn't matter to me. What mattered to me is that it happened in Cleveland, and it happened to a child. So Ferguson being out there or not being out there, it really doesn't matter to me. It's about the child loss of his life, the grieving of the family, and what we have to do as a community and how we have to process this in a way that gets us to the right outcome in terms of what the county prosecutors mentioned.
Mayor, could you talk about, though, you're a leader in this community, you've been here all your life.
Right.
Talk about how the neighborhood and the city should be patient for that outcome and not get out of control. I guess that's the question we're asking.
I know what you're asking. I know what you're asking. Let me express it to you in my way. As I mentioned, those other children, 2 were killed, 1 was shot, and then this child. I have a grandchild at every age. So I know how I would feel as an individual. And it's hard for me to tell someone else not to grieve or not to feel bad. How they react is important to us as a city, as a police department, as a community. And that is why we're attempting to be as transparent as we can at this time in order for people to know that we do care. That this hurts us, maybe not as bad as that parent, because that is something I have not experienced and don't want to experience. But we do care, and we want to make sure that people understand that, and that we will conduct ourselves in a way that is professional and transparent, so that people can believe that the outcome is a fair and just outcome.
In light of the potential verdict in Ferguson, what are you guys doing to prepare for potential violence here?
Well, I'll let the chief answer that, but I will say we're always prepared for whatever comes. And there's, we just prepare for whatever comes. And, you know, it's not to talk again about Ferguson and the decision that they're making Ferguson, but whatever comes, we're prepared to handle. But Chief, if you have any comments.
As the mayor stated, the division always has a contingency plan for any incident that may happen in the city. You know, this incident happened prior to, or has happened prior to anything that's going to be released in Ferguson. So of course we had a contingency plan for Ferguson that's still in place, and we have a plan for this. You know, this city and this division is known for allowing people to express their First Amendment rights, and we'll continue to do that. Our officers are aware and sensitive to that fact, you know, and we'd act to public and the people that are out there expressing their First Amendment rights to do them within the law, period. We're going to make sure that you can do that, but we want to make sure that you don't infringe on other person's rights at the same time. So we will give latitude, we will give people their freedom to express themselves, and we will monitor those situations, and our officers will act appropriately.
Chief, is there any updates on the quintuple homicide on East 92nd Street before you take off?
I'm gonna have Sergeant Pillow give you guys not so much an update, but some other information we want to get out there to people that may have some information.
And we'll come right back to this. We'll come right back.
Chief, two questions.
Tracy first. She hasn't.
Chief, can you give us any background on the officers that were involved, how long they've been on the job, that sort of thing?
I really can't, but what I can tell you is that I spoke to the officer involved last night. The officer's holding up pretty well. He's broken up about this. He didn't want to do this. He had to protect himself, and as the investigation goes on, other things will come out. We know that the family does not want to hear that part of it, but the investigation, all the video evidence, the scientific evidence will show everybody exactly what happened. And there is no time that a Cleveland police officer wants to go out and shoot a kid, period. And that's the way that officer feels.
Speaking of that, a lot of people we've talked to have been concerned, why didn't they tase him? Why didn't they shoot him in the leg? That's a lot of the talk we're kind of hearing from the community. Can you explain to people why it is that he was shot in the stomach? What is the policy?
I really can't get into those tactical decisions because we're still investigating those. We're still doing a lot of that groundwork to make sure of what happened, when it happened. And then the officer will, you know, tell us during his interview exactly what he perceived at that moment. So that'll all come out later on. But now I'm going to turn this over to Sergeant Pillow, who has some information on the other cases.
Ladies and gentlemen, in regards to the unfortunate homicide that happened, the multiple homicide that happened Friday night, we're working with our law enforcement partners, both the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office as well as the FBI. We're putting together a substantial reward that will be offered through Crime Stoppers. Right now, this is going to be a minimum of at least $15,000. We're asking you to get this information out to the public with that number. Shortly, I'll get you the specifics with a complete dollar amount very shortly. But again, this is not falling off our radar, and we're still pushing forward that investigation as well. So bear with me, and I'll get you that information within a half an hour or so. As it's going to conclude the interview for today, thank you all for coming out. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chief, would you be supportive of legislation being proposed now that would ban or require guns to not resemble real guns, guns such as the young man? What are your thoughts about the need for that?
Well, how often do your police officers see those guns on the street?
Well, to answer your question, Tom, I would definitely be supportive of that. As I stated earlier, guns aren't toys, and we shouldn't supply guns of any make or any makeup to our kids, whether they're toys or not. You know, on the free market right now, you can buy an actual handgun that's painted different colors. So, you know, our kids need to know that guns aren't toys, and we shouldn't provide them to our kids, plain and simple.
And do they see a lot of these guns on the street, these toy, quote, toy guns with the...
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we do. All right, thank you.
Mayor, if your aim is to be open, why not release the name of the officers involved?
They will do that. There's a time period in which they will do it in. It will not be done in a way that just covers us for a moment. It will be done in a process and procedure that leads us to an outcome that is fair and equitable. And so that is why it is a process. It's not about not wanting to release it. It's a process, and a very clear process of what we do. And we'll be transparent about it. And we will.
Will we get it today, do you know?
I don't know because, you know, I leave that up to.
Chief, was the officer involved, in fact, a rookie officer or a new officer?
I can't comment on that. But we'll release all that probably in the next couple of days.